So, lads, I think this is another day of talking about the most delusional fan base in the history of sport, and this might be the worst thing I have seen. This might be the worst thing I have ever seen coming from the fan base of one A'ja Wilson. They are, again, these are some of the most toxic people in all of sports. At the end of the day, look, I'm bringing them on myself. But this conversation needs to just be stopped at this stage. It's ridiculous. And yes, I've gotten plenty of death threats from this fan base. Yes, I've been told that they were going to, I was warned not to go to game 3 of the finals because I wouldn't make it out by this fan base. I don't care. This is ridiculous. So, Jeff Teague says, A'ja Wilson, the most obvious basketball statement ever. A'ja Wilson is not beating any NBA, G League or college player. Do y'all know off the bench he's averaged 40 in high school and 20 in college? And I'm like, and those that didn't have any in college probably went to colleges were high D1. And yeah, of course, there are literally dudes playing. There is a guy currently playing in the Irish second tier, played D3. In fairness, he was a D3 All-American. He's 6'8", has a 35-inch vertical, can finish with his right, can finish with his left, can shoot from mid, can handle the ball, can run the show from the point, can yam it on people, can shoot the 3. Yeah, obviously, 21-0, that dude, what's his name, Colin Cowell, plays for Carrick Macross. 21-0 him against A'ja Wilson every single time. Dude that I coached until he left our team was 6'9", East Baying on the fast break, could shoot a little bit, blocked everything in sight from D1 level guards trying to size him up on the perimeter. And I'm like, this is the Irish second tier. Yeah, obviously. That's not a knock at A'ja Wilson. A'ja Wilson's still one of the greatest female basketball players ever. And when it's all said and done, these dudes are playing in the Irish League and she's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But it doesn't make this statement false. And the reason why this statement has to be made is because of idiots like the A'ja Wilson fan base. This statement should not have to be made. This is not beneficial in any way for basketball. The problem is this statement has to be made when people are actually arguing that A'ja Wilson would be an NBA player. A'ja Wilson not only wouldn't be an NBA player, A'ja Wilson would not make any Division 1 college team. She is a 6'4" center. And that is she is a 6'4" center with no athleticism. If she played in men's basketball, she is a 6'4" center with zero athleticism, who I'm not sure can dunk, and is a pretty poor 3-point shooter. She is the height of a point guard. She is a point guard who plays center, who isn't an elite shooter, and can't guard on the perimeter, wouldn't be able to guard in the perimeter, wouldn't be able to guard in the post in any level of men's basketball. She would be a D3 rotation player if she was in the men's. And by the way, I think A'ja's one of the greatest of all time. But that's the reality of the statement. She would be a bench player at a bad D3 school. And that's just a fact. It's simple biology, especially in a sport where it really matters, like basketball. But obviously people are attacking Jeff Teague, and this is people don't know basketball. But anyway, let's take a listen.
So A'ja Wilson can't beat nobody in the NBA.
No, that might get spooky. Not one. They did a whole.
We're talking bench players, everybody.
No, nigga. Do y'all know niggas on the bench used to average 40 in high school and 20 in college? All type.
It's funny because she was on the Knicks Niggas podcast. It was Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. She was just like, if me and you play Josh Hart, who gonna win again? He said, me. She's 11-7. He's like, me 11, right? And they just had a really funny joke about it. She was just like, nah, I'll get y'all up out of here. He just nah, let's not joke about that.
Yeah, let's not play around.
And in fairness, when Josh Hart said he'd win 11-4, she was like, that's disrespectful. I'm like, man, if you play, you would not get 11 points against Josh Hart if you played to 200. That's not a knock on A'ja Wilson. Josh Hart is a really good NBA player. Josh Hart was a starting 5 member on a USA World Championship team. Josh Hart would literally first step, blow by A'ja Wilson, jump in the air, and if there's no contact, dunk it, or if there is enough contact, he'd be high enough that's an open layup every single time. A'ja Wilson would put the ball on the floor, Josh Hart would tip it. A'ja Wilson, the only way she wouldn't get the ball stolen every single time she dribbled it in front of Josh Hart is if you tried to back down Josh Hart. And Josh Hart would stand there. I've seen Josh Hart stand up to centers, male centers in the post. A'ja Wilson would try to back down Josh Hart, and it would be the Carl Anthony Towns on Buggy meme where he's just standing there not moving, and that would be at the 3-point line. A'ja Wilson, every basket that she would score against Josh Hart would be lucky. And that's not a knock on A'ja Wilson, but that's just a reality situation. If I scored a basket on Josh Hart, I would be lucky. A'ja Wilson's better. Look, A'ja Wilson beats me in a 1-on-1. Like, I wasn't, even at my prime, I wasn't even good enough to be a good rotational player in one of the lowest pro leagues in the world. Like, I was decent. Like, I was probably, again, at my peak, like a average D3, 6 points a game guy. It's probably my peak of basketball level. But, like, the reality is that the response is, no chance you might even score. I agree. Teague versus Wilson right now. Lining up, he's once he diminished his ability against D3 G League high school. Got miscaged, got disrespectful. Jeff Teague is the same height as AJ Wilson. If they played to 11, if Jeff Teague really wanted to beat her 11-0, he could beat her 11-0. Jeff Teague was an all-star. Y'all put prime AJ Wilson as 40-year-old Chris Paul and you'd be crying elder abuse. And look, 577 likes, misogyny popped immediately. Always talk like, and that's the reality of the situation. Is like, you can't talk about women's basketball in a negative light without being misogyny. Apparently, if you're a man, AJ Wilson's really good, and like these are the dumb conversations that set women's basketball back. And by the way, like Jeff T doesn't have to say this if AJ Wilson doesn't say Josh Hart disrespected her. And that's the only reason this is a conversation. Nobody would be talking about this. It would be like if Serena Williams came out and said she'd beat Roger Federer. Like, Serena Williams, I'm pretty sure Serena and Venus played against like the 200 ranked player in the world. And he beat them both 6-love. And he was like, or he beat them both 6-1 and was like, oh, it could have been 6-love if I was trying. Like, back to back. Like, that's just, and that's not anything against Williams' sisters. They're incredible. But it's like McEnroe, when McEnroe got shunned for saying Serena Williams would be the 600 best male tennis player. It's a fact. And that's not saying Serena Williams isn't one of the greatest tennis players of all time, because she is. But like, we gotta stop lying about sports to keep feelings. In 14 seasons, he averaged 12.2. AJ Wilson, 21. Let's be real. He was an all-star. AJ Wilson doesn't touch the ball, as I am blocked by this person. AJ Wilson's good. I understand the surplus amount of genders is confused. I don't care about, like, realistically. I don't know what relevance that has. What does he think WNBA players were doing in high school? I mean, I'm not joking. I've seen women's high school basketball where people, like, the level gap in women's high school and men's high school is crazy. There are players in Ireland that, like, on the women's side that barely start for their club teams, and because of the Title IX, they're being like asked, like, do you want a D2 scholarship? Like, do you want a college scholarship to go play D2? When it's like they're barely starting for their club teams in Ireland. And again, I'm not saying about the WNBA players, the best of the best, but like people are dumb. As an average player, never won. He has a ring and was an all-star. Keep the same. Clark. Jeff Teague right now with 21-0 Caitlin Clark. This type of talk sets the game back years. Nope, AJ Wilson saying she's better than an NBA player sets the game back equally as much. Didn't Brian Scalabrine end this debate in general? Yeah, he destroyed a dude who started for Syracuse. No women's beating a men's pro. And then my favorite thing, start taking. So my favorite thing is like this response right here. Unplugging microphones is not enough. I need to buy a gun. You've got WNBA people literally on Twitter so unhinged they're threatening to shoot a guy for making a factual statement. Like, what is going on here? What is going on? If this is the only way you're able to discuss women's basketball, this is a literal 10-second clip from a podcast. And I'd understand this if this is the only way you're able to understand it. But it's not the only way. It's literally a 10-second statement. I'm sorry, like, saying a men's basketball player could do that. Like I'm sorry. Like, look, I'm not that good at basketball. And I mean that. I'm not that good. I was an 11 flat 100 meter runner, which is Olympic qualifying time in the women's. Could throw a shot put, high school weight, 55 feet, could dunk, and was a near 40% 3-point shooter in my final year of high school. Like, just from those, like, things alone. And I'm like 6'2". Like, the reality of the situation is like, just physically, athleticism wise. Because that's as important as anything in basketball. If skill was all that mattered, you'd see so many Filipinos in the NBA. But skill's not all that matters. Size and athleticism is what matters. Like, the reality is like, look, just based on what my physical profile when I was 18, I would have been a WNBA player. Not saying I'm better than any of them, by the way. All better at basketball. But just physical, if you were allowed to do that. There's a reason why there's a WNBA. But like, And first of all, 352 likes for, I got blocked by this person as well. For threatening, I got blocked because I called out a person for threatening to shoot someone. Like, what are we doing? Feel like they say these nonsense, if you think any WNBA players, why would they go out of their way? Because age, they literally are, they say it in the clip. You didn't have the clip because like, oh, remember when Age said that in the podcast? They're going out of they're talking about a statement. These former players always sounding more stupid. You need to understand, and that's the reality. Losers and like you literally threatened. These people are like, they're unhinged. They're actually unhinged, and I mean that again. Like, I can guarantee I'll look on Twitter tomorrow, and it's. I'm not saying it's this person, but it's definitely another Age Wilson fan. It'll be, I don't know, threatening to find me and kill me. Like, it's happened before. At the end of the day, like, unfortunately, when you talk about anything online, you're going to, like, I did it with 2K. The amount of death threats I got from 2K was crazy. It's going to happen. But there's no fan base. And by the way, look, I think at this stage, if you're talking about fan base, I think the Caitlin Clark and the Angel Reese fan bases need to, like, come together because neither of them are the toxic ones. Like, they're both getting the bad rap. I don't think either of them are, like, there's toxic people in either of them, but they're not the worst. The AJ Wilson fan base are 100 times worse. AJ wouldn't be a starter on a high school boys team. On a bad one, yeah. On a good one, no. Why is he talking? He's got one NBA ring and he thinks he's Casey Jones? What? Who the hell is Casey? Casey Jones? What? Coming from a dude who never averaged 20 in the NBA, like, age of not beating any NBA player, why is controversial? And yeah, like, why is this controversial? Former NBA star has an opinion about basketball, so I, someone who has never played professionally, should shoot him. Yeah, like, that's the problem with the WNBA. Actually make a factual basketball statement. And I've stand by this. If you say Angel Reese is bad at layups, you are either misogynist or racist. If you make a statement about basketball, and until all of these people that refuse to talk anything about basketball and want to make it about everything other than basketball and want to throw personal insults, call some people, brand people as whatever the hell they want because they make basketball statements, until that stops, it'll never be good. And people like this unhinged person are 100 times worse than Jeff Teague making a obvious statement about the sport. They are. I'm sorry, what's worse? A person making an obvious statement, or a person threatening to shoot somebody because they made an obvious statement? I'll let you guys decide. Anyway, if you don't see me, if I stop making videos, just know one of these AJ Wilson fans actually got to me and followed through with the threat, I guess.